Welcome back everyone for another video of Virtual Warfare, a text-based roleplay fighting tutorial series. I apologize for this video not being a training video, but this is a very important message that I need to share with everyone before it's too late. So without further ado, let's go. I was in a roleplay fighting community on Amino for about a year and a half called the Roleplay Fight Club. Everything that is on Virtual Warfare is on that Amino. For about a year and a half, I stopped uploading material on that platform. But not too long ago, as you can see, I made the trailer for Season 3 of Virtual Warfare. I finally came back to that Amino and posted my announcement about Season 3. Moments after, the owner, admins, whoever was running the Amino, came to the Discord that Virtual Warfare has and began to say that the methods and philosophies and the metaphysics that I was teaching were wrong. Now, this is the first time, well, the second time, anyone has ever said anything like that. And mostly anyone who does say anything like that is practically just hating or fear because of my experience or knowledge or history, because most of it outweighs the majority of the roleplay fighting community, and especially those who consider themselves high in power with groups and followers and, you know, experience, but when it comes down to someone who's above them, they don't like that. And anyone who knows my methods and philosophies knows that they are quote-unquote legit. I put quotations because people can roleplay fight however they want and use whatever logic they want to use. So if I want to say the sky is red in my roleplay, I can. And you can't say that I'm roleplaying wrong or my logic is wrong because it's what I want to do. However, they insisted that I was teaching wrong and everything that I was teaching was made up. I proceeded to show the screenshots of the place where I got my philosophy, but it wasn't enough for them, and they continued to say that I could have made it up and demanded the link to the source, but I refused. They even tried to entice me and say that, oh, it's 100% made up, to try to get me to share the link, but it wasn't working. However, I refused because I know sincere people when I encounter them. I refused because they simply wanted to be convinced themselves. Yes, I understand as a teacher, I should be teaching reliable things as to not hinder or destroy the growth of others, and I should be providing the links and sources where I get my information. But if anyone knows Virtual Warfare, they know I am far from doing any of that stuff, and I refuse to give up anything to anyone who's a complete jerk about it. Not only that, I refuse to give the enemy my source of information just to prove myself, so that they can take the information for themselves and use it against others the same way they were attempting to use their power against me, the same way they did in the past. So instead of sharing the link only to them, everyone can see it now. The entire world will see the link and the material and the philosophies for themselves. As I do with all my things, I provide all the information about what I'm talking about, or say this is what I believe, and give the material for everyone to see my point and interpret it for themselves. I never say this is what it is unless I'm teaching about the nature of roleplay, of course. As you can see, if you read the link, it talks of the very same thing that they were denying and said that don't exist. Sub-electromagnetics, superpotential fields, and other things. They even said electromagnetic energy is not physical. Well, if I understand correctly, gamma waves, sun rays, X-rays, they all have electromagnetic radiation in an electromagnetic field. Aren't those waves physical? Can you not feel heat? Can you not become sick from too many gamma waves? But that's another point. I'm not gonna get into that. However, the very principles of thoughts and emotions, the subconscious, the aura, and the soul in Buddhism, Hinduism, and some New Age beliefs, and many other cultures are all the same. They just have different names. Sub-electromagnetic energy is the same as thoughts and emotions. Scientifically, chi, the consciousness beyond the brain, or even the soul, are said to not exist, or impossible to prove of its existence because there is no conventional tools to make such evident. People are entitled to roleplay fight however they want, as long as it follows the basic and general guidelines of the totality of physics. In other words, all powers and abilities, energies and whatnot, have to work and respond like the general similarities of the majority of beliefs, or even some minor ones. The Chinese, Greeks, Indians, Hebrews, Mayans, Egyptians, and so many more all believe in some sort of life after death, some sort of life force, and some sort of spiritual world and spiritual senses beyond the physical. But it is all worded differently and told and understood in a different way, yet in a general form, without getting into detail of the different doctrines, which is the reason why they are different. They are practically the same in essence, coming from the same place to carry out the same actions. The perfect example of this is called the twin earth thought experiment. Say there's two types of earth, everything's the same, plants, people, solar system, everything's the same. But on the twin earth, there is no water. Well, there is no H2O on twin earth. In a regular earth where there's oceans and rivers, we call H2O. The compound is H2O. We call water. But on twin earth, where rivers and oceans flow, their compound is XYZ, but it is still called water. Now, if an earthling went to the twin earth and looked at the compound of their rivers and oceans, that earthling would say, wait, this is not H2O, this is not water. But the twin earth would say, wait, this is water, this is XYZ. And the argument would begin there, because both inhabitants or both types of people say what water is, but both inhabitants have a different idea of the compound of water. This is the perfect example done right here. Because they never heard of superpotential energy and couldn't find it, they did not believe that it existed and said that whatever I was teaching was wrong and harassed me for it. However, instead of understanding the concept of this thought experiment, they became ignorant. And because they decided to lean towards the hypocritical side, as chi, chakra, aura, soul, and stuff like that aren't scientifically proven to be real or true, contemporarily also being made up, they had the audacity to say that what I was saying was not true and that it was made up, even though Hinduism and Chinese philosophies about chakra can't be proven, and they were contrasting those beliefs against mine. If that's not hypocrisy, I don't know what is. I went back to their Amino and posted about what happened on my Discord, and suddenly I was invited to a chat group. I asked them why they didn't invite me into the group chat first on Amino and asked me, instead of just bombarding into my Discord and demanding answers to things they were simply ignorant of. And when whatever they wanted was not given, they said that I was in the wrong. They threatened to ban me because obviously they were wrong and I refused to be a doormat. So I told them in a very mean way to kick rocks, and I was banned. Once being banned, and I know I said I wasn't going to make any more videos about Kick, but I went to the chat on Kick associated with the Amino chat, the Roleplay Fight Club, and announced my claim about what happened, hoping for some justice. Nothing was really said about anything except the guy I fought in my last video, which was trolling and making jokes, and it wasn't that bad. However, soon after, one of the guys who also run the Roleplay Fight Club in Amino said something about what happened, but the problem died down and the subject changed. But he was boasting about how long he'd been here, well, how long he'd been roleplay fighting, and how much more experienced he was than me, which is very unlikely, and you're about to see why. Because I told him he tried to throw dirt in my face one day because he runs this corrupt Amino. I didn't like the way he was teaching in my old chat a few years ago, so I removed him. Now he helps run this Roleplay Fight Club Amino. It had 6,000 members, but roughly 5,700 of those members are fake accounts and bots, just to add the numbers. 200 members are hardly online, 100 members barely post, and about 40 max members are online daily. That place is just there to make the big people bigger and the small people smaller. As you have heard from the activity that I have stated, you can see how corrupt it is. Because of that, we started to discuss how we met, and he came to me saying, we teach on different spectrums. And he said, we see roleplay fighting the same. And I said, I see roleplay fighting as a system. He said, I also see roleplay fighting as a system. I said, that's a lie, because if anyone watched my videos or had roleplay in different places or have been around before the year 2006 knows that roleplay fighting is not announced to be or have a system, even though it does. It is a form of writing and art, not a system. Now, this will be perfectly okay, super cool actually, knowing that someone sees roleplay fighting the same way I do. But I know he was just saying that to make it seem like we was on the same level, because he wanted to seem like he had more experience than I have. And this is how I know this. He asked me to show proof of my experience, so I showed him a screenshot on my old site of me talking about the laws of exertion in 2009. Now, obviously, it does say 2009, but it also says something about a prophecy, which means that I was using the laws of exertion before I even posted about it. And if anyone knows virtual warfare, knows how the laws of exertion came about, and no one really cared to follow them even to this day. He also says that 70% of fighters been doing this. Now, that was the most unthoughtful response I have received that day. He said 70% of people been doing this. First, that is a bold-faced lie. The laws of exertion is something that I created myself. Second, he speaks as if he has been roleplay fighting longer than I have, as if he knows how many people were using the laws of exertion before I even created or began using it. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Third, why only 70% of people use it? Wouldn't that make the 30% of fights who don't use the laws of exertion inconsistent fights? And if only 70% of people use it, wouldn't that make a reference of saying this is how roleplay fighting is supposed to go, meaning certain rules have to be followed and thus being a system in itself? This is why when the truth is presented, such a response is given and it doesn't make sense. Because I know the truth and I know what happened, I made the laws of exertion. And here's a screenshot of me talking about it. Now, anyone can say, that's not you, and that would be just the stupidest thing ever, at least for me. It's part of my email and my username for another formal site. Only someone in denial would still believe it wasn't me. But check this out. He said that what I was teaching, the laws of exertion, was common knowledge, and that everyone does it, or at least they should. And that's true, they should, but they simply do not. But here's the kicker. but here's the kicker. If it was common knowledge and done by 70% of decent fighters, why isn't it commonly seen? Better yet, why isn't it done by those claiming to be decent? Everyone in my exposed videos did not state anything regarding the laws of exertion. Are they part of the 30% who don't state it? Do you see the inconsistency here now? Are they decent fighters or not? He then proceeded to ask if I have been to another site, as to say, there are other places who use the laws of exertion, which doesn't even matter where I've been or why. It's just another tactic to divert from the truth. But little does he know, only freelance communities can or should follow the laws of exertion, not communities who already have a setting, theme, power levels, etc. I told him Kick and Amino are freelance communities, as you are able to be anything you want and fight and roleplay together. In a place called Paragore, which is a former site of my friends, you have to match the theme of the community to play within it. He then asked me what platforms aren't freelance, because I have never seen a platform that's not. And he had the audacity to ask me if I have been anywhere besides Kick and Amino. But this is not the point. I told him that there were, and I sent him a link to one. He said, anyway, I took a look at the rules of this Paragore place. Absolutely no rules on what content you are allowed to post. No rules on literacy. No rules on length. It's freelance. And frankly, even if there were, I would gladly say I'm wrong due to me asking a vague question. Cause that is one dead platform. Seems like it was never alive in the first place. If you consider that to be on the same level as kick or amino, I highly doubt you know the meaning of quality. By the way, this guy's name is The Overseer, not The Overseer, not with THE, but The Overseer. And I told him that chat do have rules and it is not freelance. Yet, with all that overseeing he does, he overlooked that. Again, people who are in the wrong try to use their power to threaten to ban me because they aren't standing on the truth. But I am, and I tell them to kick rocks every time. Freelance roleplay has nothing to do with literacy or wordling, but everything to do with the character and attributes that are allowed in that world. In the freelance world, any character can roleplay there. Goku, Naruto, Saitama, all in one roleplay. In a non-freelance roleplay, Goku can't roleplay in the Naruto world. So twice he was wrong, yet he told me that I deserve a second chance. I direct messaged him, showing him that there were rules, and I told him what freelance really meant. He humbled himself, and I acknowledged it, but he was like, something you didn't do. And that was not a humble response at all. So at that point, I knew I was done. So a little chit chat simmered off, whatever heat we had, and I left. These people said that they are experienced and knowledgeable, but are really putting up a stage front. Yes, I could have handled the situation better and could have been more kind, but it doesn't mean that I am a hypocrite for expressing my frustration. And it's funny, that seems to be the only thing people say. After they come in, demand material, belittle you, bash you, and when you have finally had enough and lose your cool, they call you a hypocrite and say that you are in the wrong. This is going to be the cop-out of 2019. When someone is trying to escape guilt because they are wrong and are deliberately attacking you, they are going to say you are not nice, you're a hypocrite. When you finally lose your cool and tell them to kick rocks, are these the type of people you want to trust? Are these the people to really look up to? See the corruption, see the proof. Don't be tricked anymore. Don't let people attack you and think they can do whatever they want because they have a lot of people and they don't care about what comes out their mouth. Don't let people hold you back from doing what you want to do. Because these are the type of people who run these communities and make it seem like these are the high top people of roleplaying fighting, but really they are in the bottom of the totem pole trying to knock everybody out who has potential to change and make things better for everyone else. Do not follow these people. Do not believe the things that they say. I encourage everyone to stick close to virtual warfare, not because I want people and I want the glory, but because I want people to know the truth of virtual warfare, the truth of the art of roleplay fighting. I hope everyone stay encouraged to continue fighting a good fight. I see everyone in the future. Deuces.